Well, hello, that's me again. Today is June 11th, it is Sunday, and honestly, I wished to do it tomorrow, but then each morning you open the news feeds and like, okay, yeah, you have to do that. And here I am, on Sunday, giving you the primer basically of the, well, on the events, and let's start with a little bit of, how to put it, of the wall type thing. I want to explain again. This question appears constantly in my discussion boards and elsewhere, and everybody points out to the fact that Colonel McGregor, whom I respect profoundly professionally, and he is one of the best American officers out there. And he speaks about the fact that Russians and Red Army did this and did that in World War II, and that without American Lend-Lease there would be no victory. And as much as I respect him as the professional officer, I have to admit that, I have to state, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And this is the well-established fact that the Great Patriotic War, as it is known in the former Soviet Union and modern-day Russia and other states which broke away from Soviet Union, actually is not taught properly and never was actually in the United States military establishment. Average West Point graduate will have no clue actually, except for like all those popular names like titles like Stalingrad or Kursk, or maybe Operation Bagration, and of course Battle of Berlin. They will know that probably. They will not understand how it was working, how it was happening, and I read my lips. I do not quote myself in this particular case. I quote here the most important American military historians, whose stature and whose authority on the subject in the United States and in Anglo world is unmatched. And I mean, nobody comes even close, let alone all those propagandists and ideologues and liars such as, what's his name, Anthony Beaver from, Great Britain. He's not historian. And here it is. I'm talking about Mr. Glantz and Jonathan House. They spoke about, wrote about it, and if you go to my videos on the World War II and obviously the issue of the Lend-Lease, you can easily find those videos. I specifically presented the American documents mostly. They say that, which I agree completely, American view on the World War II was completely shaped by Germans. Period. It was shaped by people ranging from Mr. Galen and his org, which later became the BND, and actually influenced the establishment of the absolutely Russophobic position of the CIA, for example. They were lying. And of course we have people like former commanders of the scale of Erich von Manstein, who also described this from the point of view of Germans. Glantz and House make this statement, and they were making it ever since the first edition in 1997 of the When Titus Clashed came out in print. So in this particular case, Colonel McGregor is the same subject to the basically English language, most of it lies and propaganda, when he was studying the Eastern Front. Except for, of course, if you go even, and again, they don't teach this in the West Point. West Point is really, we have to go and discuss it academically. It's not the strongest military institution in the world. In fact, this is probably one of the weakest when we talk about the preparation of the officers of the tactical level. But if we go specifically in the issue of the military history, Colonel McGregor operates with the same mythology of about like million Red Army soldiers have been executed by those hedge detachments, and which is a complete, I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's not even supported by any kind of the document, let alone the fact that Stalin was probably not humanitarian, but he was no stupid. why would he would execute 1 million of the most precious resource he needed, which is of course personnel. But hey, that's what it is. This is the level of the modern American, or in this case Western academy. It's just below sewer. And I mean, those gems, those brilliants like House and Glantz, who actually base things and their research and their books on the serious documents, they are so rare. Most of it, as I already stated, is absolute garbage, trash. Most of this is propaganda. And again, for U.S. Army War College had the Mr. Zemke's, Earl Zemke's book From Stalingrad to Berlin, I believe so, which he stated that these were Western allies who won the war, and it's like, yeah, sure. So when you are basically taught like this, and Colonel McGregor is the product of this system, and when you continue to believe in those things, despite the fact that historically it's, again, go to my videos, and the same House and Glantz, let alone Russians, know it, that without Lend-Lease, for example, why certainly Lend-Lease helped tremendously, the war would last probably another year, maybe year and a half, but the outcome would have been the same. And here we have to go and even recall this thing. If you go to this website, which is of course the Journal of Slavic Military Studies, as you can see yourself, here's the volume 36 for 2023. You will recognize this for people who read House and Glantz, that actually, if not for Colonel Glantz, United States General Staff and Command College in Leavenworth wouldn't have the Department of the Slavic Military Studies. And of course, it was Mr. Glantz, David Glantz, who was actually the main editor of this journal. I believe he was until 2005 or something like that. And then after that, all kinds of people became the editors of it. And the quality and academic quality of this magazine kind of went down dramatically, because, as always, there was this, exceptionalist view, American view, and very little of the actual history. Mostly, as you can see yourself, the Mr. If you look attentively about Lend-Lease, one of the so-called dissident Russian historians, and so it's pretty much same old, same old. It's always about that America actually won the World War II with some help of those Russians. So obviously it's completely not true, but sadly, again, as I already stated, for my profound respect and professional respect of Mr. Douglas McGregor, I mean, he is the product of this system, and he knows nothing about the Soviet history, about the actually what is happening and was happening in the Red Army, with the Red Army, and how the campaigns, how they have been basically defined by Soviet Stavka and General Staff. But, what can I say? He doesn't speak Russian, and that actually automatically insulates him from the real serious research and documents and archives, which Mr. Putin, per his order, have been finally closed for the Westerners, because the only thing they do, they go in, they cherry pick the facts, and instead of writing the history, like as you know, this ideologue and shyster from history, Anthony Beaver, they begin to come up with all kinds of narratives and basically do the stolen valor thing. And that's what I needed to explain to you before I go anywhere close to our, so to speak, neck of the woods. And here we have to start with actually kind of in the continuation of what I just talking about. Here it is. This is the Telegraph. And we have here Mr. Hamish de Breton Gordon, no less. And the guy is former colonel, and he writes in 2 days ago actually in Telegraph that British made tanks are about to sweep Putin's conscripts aside. As a former tank commander, I can say one thing for certain: Putin's demoralized conscripts are utterly unprepared for the shock action now hitting their lines. Ukrainian armored formations are beginning to meet Russian forces in battle, and they are going to pulverize Russian defensive lines. And he's talking about that I'm confident for the one simple reasons: Ukraine will follow the Western ideology of maneuver warfare in combined arms context. So, and when you read this, first, the guy, he is actually, I understand he got off his meds and he is British, and he is the British with some, judging by his name, some problem, maybe aristocratic, I don't know, who knows, I mean, who cares, really. The guy is obviously illiterate, and he has to actually admit, or maybe he senses that basically Britain, Great Britain, in terms of the combined arms warfare, are nobodies. They actually less than zeros. And when you have these people like him, I can put it, and this is not exaggeration. Average Russian tank company commander knows about modern combined arms and tank warfare more than all Sandhurst faculty combined, because actually there is no single British officer who has any clue what actually modern warfare of scale is. And Mr. Hamish de Breton Gordon is no exception, and as you can see yourself writing this garbage and trash, we need to take a look at his curriculum vitae, so to speak. And here he is. Let's take, yeah, he is born September, he's a chemical weapons expert and was a director. So generally speaking, the guy is actually a chemist. But guess what his education is? He attended Tonbridge School and has a degree in agriculture from University of Reading. So, all right. He also attended Australian Command and Staff College. Well, last time I checked, Australian record in the combined arms warfare is kind of, well, let's put it this way, not really impressive. So, and when you have this type of the officers and this type of the experts, you begin to understand that how low they fell, and especially in United Kingdom. At least in the United States, they can pretend that they really know what the modern combined arms or multi-domain operation is, and essentially it is Pentagon which writes all those doctrines which NATO follows because they are just lapdogs. So is UK. So when this guy talks about challengers, he evidently has no clue what modern anti-tank weapons are, and I'll touch on it later in this video. But if we go further, what happens then, that you have those British guys, all these Sandhurst, all those generals and admirals, and who think that they're still big shots. They're not. They're lapdogs, they're tabaki. And now the only thing they can do is the terrorism. Basically, this is what they always did. British, they know how to blow up children, do the false flag with chemical weapons, and now they have this. Today, again, yet another intelligence collection ship by the Black Sea Fleet. This time it's Priazovye, it's older one than Ivan Hurs, but still pretty much same project with, and it was attacked again by the 6 drones, which are British, and all 6 of them have been blown up by this, standard weapons, which are primarily gunnery on this ship, and it was guarding the Turk Stream, and this is what British will try to, again and again to stay relevant, to, blow the something like Turk Stream and try to attack Russian ships. And this is, this is desperation of people who are absolutely irrelevant and who are the pipsqueak. And especially when you talk about the tank warfare and British, they relate the same way as I am related to the Chinese choreography. Those people are clowns. And this just shows you what's good they are for. Like, for example, the attack with the Storm Shadow, the refuge houses for the refugees from the flooding after Kakhovka Dam have been broken or blown up, and they attacked the children's camp in the same area pretty much. So there you go, great British, military history at display. And then why we have to basically be surprised with people like this who actually, as I already stated, average Russian tank company commander can go out today and start teaching Sandhurst and those professors, those you know, the PhDs and whatever, they will be sitting and having their mouths shut because they have no clue what they're talking about. They absolutely have no experience or scale, for that matter, or proportion to deal with that. And this is just one of those things. And when you look at this, like, oh my gosh, if that wasn't bad enough, we have this guy now. So look at this. The build actually have been already trolled like this, you know, with Hitler just crying out loud, you know, about that. Oh, we didn't expect that Russians to fight better than we thought they would. And here is the original, of course, not trolled, not memed article from the Bild, and this is by Julian Röpke, who has no clue about anything, and actually, as any Western journalist, as I already stated, normal people do not work in Western mainstream media. In most of Russian media, it's pretty much the same, but generally speaking, in the West, it's just combination of the ideologues with zero background in anything. And here's the Bild yesterday wondering, oh, we didn't expect Russians to fight better than we expected. Let me ask you a question. How many times Russians have to take Berlin to prove to Germans that basically they do not know what they're talking about, let alone modern Bundeswehr? It's a joke. I mean, it's literally a joke. And so is primarily all NATO ground forces, be them French, Italian, what have you, let alone UK, which is, I mean, it's not even, I don't know how to even describe this anymore. And why, who the hell they think they are thinking that they know anything about Russia? They don't. Even in the United States, with all this kind of intel services and all those, you know, experts, even, as I already stated, even Douglas McGregor, he still lives in this virtual world of the mythology, which is, of course, exceptionalist and stolen valor mythology in the United States about Red Army and Soviet Union during World War II. But still, it's probably complex of inferiority. It's a combination of many factors. But again, I mean, United States never had anything in their lives comparable to the scale of Stalingrad, Kursk, or any kind of the operations which Red Army was sweeping through the Europe during World War II, let alone Operation Bagration. And so when you look at this like, okay, yeah, sure. So, and that's where we get, and I already kind of, you know, just to give you a little bit of heads up and recollection of my recent video, that, yeah, you read in the documents, they still think that they're big hunches. They are not. They're not. And again, how many times do I have to quote Mr. Cavoli, the commander of the NATO forces in Europe, whose quote starts with this: scale, scale, scale. We never have been ready for that. Of course, we haven't been ready for that. When, again, as I already stated, when some people think that General Patton was a great tactician, I mean, you know what? I mean, they better really start learning what the real logistics and real tank warfare is. But again, you know, they think for some reason that beating the crap out of the third-rate Saddam's army makes them great tacticians. So I don't know. They just don't know what they're talking about. And this is the other thing which is kind of has to be in focus today. And when we go into the basically the events on the front lines today, I'm giving you actually the horrendous butcher's bill, which was for yesterday. Today it's changed. Here, for example, Russian Ministry of Defense provides actually the June losses of the armed forces of Ukraine and all those NATO, whatever the units or subunits. And for yesterday, today it changed. It was already about 7,700 killed alone. Today it's already something around 8,000+ killed. For some reason, 8th of June, as you can see yourself, is not counted because there was no data. And you can see yourself the different colors. They show the different axes of the so-called counter-offensive. Then, of course, Russian Defense Ministry also gives. And again, it was for yesterday. Today it changed. They gave estimates, and Russians are usually pretty, how to put it, they are very conservative in their numbers, as you can see yourself, starting from November 2022, KIAs of the armed forces of Ukraine amounted to 90,767. So it's already changed since yesterday, and you can easily find the data. You don't need me to deliver this data constantly to you, and you can easily find it. And many people, of course, go to the BitChute and whatever other resources, and you can see yourself what is happening on the battlefields. Russians knew they need to show a little bit of those Leopards, annihilated with Bradleys. Actually, it's happening every day, and it was happening, I mean, all along. It just was a little bit giving the insight not to disturb all those people in Pentagon and in American media and in the White House, but evidently even a small portion of what has been shown already disturbed them, because obviously, as I'm on record, guys, you can check it. I wrote 3 books on that, writing the 4th one, the procurement policies of the United States and NATO. I joke. So is the research and development, and basically development of the weapon system and tactics and operational art of the large combined arms conflicts. And that's what I'm saying. When you in Russia, they are having now this condescending smirk when anybody begins to mention this Gulf War, first Gulf War. It's not even serious. You cannot compare this, because what is happening now is that basically the best proxy United States ever had is being annihilated in a horrendous industrial scale. And I'm not saying this with joy. I understand that many of those people are being thrown under the bus, so to speak. And many people who in Pentagon and London and those, who were planning this, they evidently are not good planners. And that's what the whole thing. We have the systemic failure starting from the high school in the Western world, and especially in the United States. When you have semi-literate people in the issue of mathematics, physics, and advanced STEM degrees who need to go and develop plans and develop their basically valid combat concepts or fighting doctrines, you have those people, they don't even understand what they're dealing with. They don't. It's like somebody really cut out this part of the brain which basically gives you the signal, your neurons fire up and give you a signal about the danger. Those people don't understand what they're dealing with because they bought in their own BS. And I want to actually tell you, unlike this British dude, Colonel, allegedly specialist in armored warfare, my friends, Americans, they are older than me. They actually, some of them were armor commanders, tank commanders. I will not name the guy, but he's very famous, actually, quite famous, actually. But we communicated. He says, you know what, we're not even in the same league. And I say, yeah, I know. I mean, I've been trying to convey this. It's different leagues, guys. So, and Pentagon will not be able to close this gap because actually, technologically, gap is basically widening. And I want to show you something which many people still do not understand. I already spoke on the issue of the, for example, Russian air defense. And if you go, for example, just to one of the academies in Russia, this is the famous Yaroslavl military academy of the air defense. If you look attentively at it, and you will see yourself on the faculties of which are departments basically, and what they get. They have 2 specialties there: specialists in the advanced radio electronic systems and specialists on the what is called the automatic combat control systems. And look at this. Look at the kind of specializations they teach. The faculty of the basically combat management systems, faculty of the air defense missile complexes, faculty of the control and command points, the systems of the air defense complexes, faculties of the start and technological and energy supply and auxiliary functions for the air defense systems, the faculty of radio technical complexes, which is faculty of radar, and all. And when you begin to look at this is, guys, 5 years, 6 days a week, a few courses on philosophy, political economy, which you need to go, history, of course, and things like that, but primarily it is this. tactical and technological thing, and when the people come out there, they are engineers and commanders of these tactical units of the air defense. There is no such thing as leadership, whatever that means. How do you teach leadership without having actually appropriate authority and experience with doing anything? The only way you can teach leadership is being a professional of the highest degree, both in the command functions as the commander of the unit, and of course as a professional, that's an engineer. And this is the difference. When you look at all those academies in Western world, military academies, they simply do not prepare proper professionals. And then we can see yourself, and now you see that this complete collapse of everything. It's systemic collapse across the board, militarily, diplomatically, economically. And then you say yourself, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on is very simple. They don't teach properly. They don't understand, especially Western world, do not understand what modern military education is. Russians have always been driving their officers to the verge of academic and military desperation. I know, I am one of the products of that. And when you look at this, you begin to understand kind of like, oh yeah, you know, so whatever you do, no matter how you try to kind of relate this, you cannot relate this. You cannot relate the officer going out from the, for example, any military academy in the United States, which has usually bachelors in some political science, and then has some military preparations. Russians already have the operations actually being introduced already in the military academies, which you get after the school, like we. And theory of operational research and things of that nature. They don't teach this in the United States academies. So by the time, so you have essentially a huge handicap. And that's the whole issue. And that is why very many people still cannot understand what is going on. And you have those people who, like this British dude, and many would ask, like, is he that stupid? Well, he probably, but it's also the fact that many of them, while being disingenuous and not running this in the good faith, many of them do. They do believe that. They do believe in those things. They cannot calculate combat efficiency. They cannot calculate required force. They cannot analyze it in the proper militarily combat framework. Yeah, you know what, like you get this lawyer from whatever, you know, Tom Cotton, yeah, he can command platoon, sure. Anybody can command platoon when you give a little bit, you know, of explanations how you do that. But try to go and graduate from the real serious military institutions like in Russia. They will fail. Because basically even the requirements for the physics and mathematics, forget about Russian language, they are not taught even in the American schools. And there you go. So, and this is just a part of it. And of course, when you look at this, you get to this thing, and this is absolutely astonishing. Mr. Blinken has traveled to the Saudi Arabia, and here he meets the Crown Prince, and this is NBC photograph. I pointed out 2 days ago on my blog that look what's missing in this picture. As you can see yourself, you can see the Saudi Arabia flag proudly on display, while Mr. Blinken, who is the Secretary of the State, has no old glory. There's no red, white, and blue. This is, guys, a diplomatic insult from Saudi Arabia, who also we know now told the United States it can cause such a horrendous pain to the United States. Just to demonstrate to you basically the difference, here's Mr. Lavrov in Saudi Arabia meeting Crown Prince. As you can see yourself, red, white, and blue. The Russian one is proudly present there together with Saudi flag. And that tells you everything you need to know what is happening. And you have those people, they're butthurt, they're sore losers. They begin to invent things. They begin to try to portray things which are not there. And as I already stated, I do not want to parade here the horrible picture of the devastation of the, for example, this so-called Ukrainian counteroffensive, and basically the information is floating. You can go to Larry, my good friend Larry Johnson's blog, and read there that there is information floating that Zelensky already called Mr. Milley, telling them that we are slaughtered, we cannot do anything, and Mr. Milley told him to continue with this offensive. Sure, I mean, the slaughter will continue. And as already stated, even today, already in the morning, another 3 Leopards, another number of other tanks. I mean, so we're looking at the last week, something like on the order of 150 tanks have been wiped out there, and very many of them are Leopards, and I'm not talking about even Bradleys, and it's not even serious. It's just a absolute slaughter of the Western equipment, and the question is not that it's just the equipment which is not good. We know it's not that good as it was, basically portrayed. It's the fact that they evidently do not understand actually how to persecute, how fight modern war. And when you look at this, it's just like, well, hey guys, that's Pentagon who planned it. I mean, that's London who planned it. When you look at this British Jude, what do you expect? Those people who really believe that they're best in the world, the finest fighting force in the history. Well, there you go. Here's your, meeting with the real finest fighting force in the history. And then you begin to get those headlines, and it's like, oh my gosh, I told you so. I warned you about this. And this is another thing which I want to actually show you. It's a tactical military porn thing. There are many, a lot of information and many news coming out from the combat lines about the operational Russian Mi-28 and Ka-52 combat helicopters. They are all weather, 24 hours capable, night vision, all that stuff. And what you see here is in the red lines pointing out to what Russians called balls. This is the Ka-52 balls, and this is Vitebsk, electronic warfare and countermeasures system. And recent data, and actually you can see the Vitebsk system, including the two eyes, so to speak, next to the red dome of the radar, arbalete radar, and light green color. These are all Vitebsk system, and evidently one of the helicopters deflected 18 attacks on it from all kinds of the weapons, like ranging from Stinger to Strela to Igla, manpads, and completed its task. And evidently Russian combat helicopters are having a field day with all those Leopards and what have you. And so, yeah, they will be gladly expecting and anticipating, actually, challengers with H-1 armor. But as I already stated, and you can quote me on that, there's nothing which can sustain Kornet and things which are delivered, similar to the Russian front air forces, let alone when they're going to be using hypersonic, actually, Hermes anti-tank missile. It's almost hypersonic, it's almost Mach 5. So yeah, good luck stopping this. And in conclusion, I want to state this. Canada just basically stated that to give stolen Russian cargo plane to Ukraine. Yes, Canadians, Mr. Trudeau, it's now pretty much standard operation by the Combined West, stealing things. The N-124 Ruslan had been chartered by the Canadian government from the Russian carrier to deliver cargo of COVID tests from China back in 2022. It landed in Toronto on February 27, mere hours before Canada closed its airspace to all Russian aircraft, and has been grounded ever since. So they're gonna give it to Ukraine. Well, they still, I mean, what can I say? This is the level of the modern Western elites. I mean, shyster, pedophiles, thieves, what have you. So, and because of that, basically we have Valentina Matviyenko, who is the chief of the Federation Council, and she says today, It is high time that Russia understood it can only communicate with the West from a position of power. Yeah, that's what Russia is doing, and Matvienko kind of lagging here a little bit behind, but she needed to also issue her statement, and she said the West has always treated Russia as a something alien to its civilization. She said in Alexei's statement, and such a sentiment is deeply rooted in European society. I completely subscribe to every single word in her statement, because we've been through this before. Yeah, there are some people who sympathize with Russia in Europe, and there are some people who are just try to remain sane, but it's done. With Europe, it's done. Russia will talk to the United States because she has to, because it's the big country in the Western world still, although it's declining. But the rest of it, you cannot change anything. They will always be brainwashed. Average European will always hate Russians. Again, read my lips. Average. It doesn't mean that you guys who watch my video from Europe necessarily hate Russians. No, but I'm talking about majority of population, be that French, Italian, or what have you, you know, especially German. So, and the fact that they will go hungry at some point of time, and maybe with the economic difficulties will kind of push them towards the changing their point of view, it means absolutely nothing. It's cultural, it's irreconcilable. And that is why we go here, and I want to kind of close it, it's my closing argument that you can see yourself already now that children of children of the Western civilization begin to eat each other. And look at this lovely headline from Washington, pardon me, the Wall Street Journal. Nord Stream sabotage probe turns to clues inside Poland. German investigations examines whether Allied territory was a springboard for pipeline attack. Russians having a field day with memes and all that about this, but already Polish officials already reacted to say, how dare you, you know. But truth is, I mean, Poland will be thrown eventually under the bus, and they have to understand that. And I don't know what will be the dynamics of that, but we will discuss the strategy, so to speak, of Russia down the road in different videos. But the fact is, yeah, Poland will be thrown under the bus, and they already been thrown pretty much under the bus. And again, Eastern Europe, that's a whole other story, but again, Russians don't want to deal with them. So this is what I wanted to tell you today. And guys, as always, I express my profound gratitude to my wonderful patrons. They are the ones who allow me to continue to do what I'm doing. And if you like what I do, please subscribe to my channel and support me through Patreon, or maybe buy me a coffee or two. And this is what I wanted to tell you. Not all of it, it's just small little part of it. But you know, the events overtaking me, and you know, I wish I would talk more about operations and strategies, but I constantly have to put everything in the appropriate framework, and the news stream is non-stop. We are living in the moment, historic moment, the likes we didn't see in the last several hundred years, guys. So what can I say? Have a nice rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye bye.